Neshat is an Iranian-born artist. She has dedicated herself to exploring issues of her native Islamic society. She painted early in her career, then she moved to photography, where she received recognition for her Women of Allah series. She then moved onto the international art scene with the video installation Turbulent, which won her critical praise. She has recently finished 3 more film installations, Passage, Possessed, and Pulse. I'm pleased to welcome her to this table for the first time. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Why did you go from painting to photography?
Well, actually, I only painted when I was at school, at the art school. And just when I finished school, I came to the realization that I didn't like to paint, or I didn't like my paintings, and I felt no purpose to continue, both in terms of the subject that I was working with and in terms of the media. And actually, more importantly, I just put art away altogether for about 10 years. So when
what did you do during those 10 years?
I moved to New York, and I decided to work. I worked at a alternative space called Storefront for Art and Architecture, which was dedicated to sort of more of experimental work in the field of art and architecture. I studied philosophy to literature to various type of things, and I feel that I gained my true education while being away from the school after I finished school. So by the time I returned to the making of art, I felt more prepared intellectually and artistically. And at that moment, when I found the subject that I wanted to work with, I realized that painting wasn't going to be the right media, so I chose photography.
And there was a subject women, or was it what?
It was at that time where I went to Iran, and I decided to concentrate on the subject of women in relation to Islam, particularly Iran. I felt that photography sort of offered a level of realism that I needed in portraying the woman that I wanted to work with. And that wasn't possible to achieve through painting or sculpture and things like that. So I just moved forward with photography.
The Turbulent films won the, what, 1998 Venice?
No, it was 1999.
1999, but they were made in 1998.
Yes,
the Venice Biennial, right?
Yes, it was made in 1998, and it won the award in 1999.
Okay, tell me about it.
Turbulent was a piece that was primarily based on the notion of the relationship of gender to music in the Iranian society. I found it of great interest that women are basically deprived of the experience of public performance and music in Iran. And I thought I'd make a piece that sort of speaks about that. This piece, conceptually and visually, everything is around the notion of opposites. We have a male singer who is singing very beautiful Sufi music, which is originally performed by Shahram Nazeri. And he has a large audience. The audience is dressed similar to him. On the opposite side, we had a female singer who was standing in a theater without any audience. Also, that when she begins to respond to the male singer, her music is opposite to the male singer. If the male singer, his music was the poetry by Rumi, the 13th century poet, and it was one that when associates with traditional music, her music broke down every aspect of traditional music. It was not tied to language, it was improvised and free form, and it expressed a range of emotions without actually using words. And ultimately her performance and her response to him was so stunningly powerful that went above and beyond any kind of recognizable traditional framework. And ultimately she found her release or her relief through her own inventive type of music, which is really tied to a more primal level of interaction with music.
Okay, let me take a look at the film.
Yeah.
Please, roll tape. we'll show Turbulent, the female singer,
Yeah.
again, a sort of companion piece to it. Roll tape. Talk to me about September 11th and what impact it had on you as an artist.
Well, actually, ironically, I live very close to the World Trade Center, and my son went to school across the street from the World Trade Center at IS 89. And that morning, actually, I was just dropping him off, so I actually happened to see the entire tragedy in very close vicinity. And in some ways, I'm grateful that I saw it and I experienced it, because I think the personal dimension of experiencing such tragedy puts everything in a very different perspective. So for days and weeks, I'd been going through that process of such grief. But later, of course, more involved with thinking about the political dimension of this tragedy. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm caught in between two very different types of emotions. One as a resident of New York, part of the community of New York for many years, and having a son who actually was in very close proximity, and on the other side, a Muslim, an Iranian, who is living here and was somewhat invested in some of the discussions that we have been having in relation to a deeper understanding of Islam across the board. So it's been an interesting and peculiar position to be.
Okay. Tell me about Passage 2001. Passage, which was not 2001, Passage, which was created in 2001.
Yes, Passage was a commission by Philip Glass, the composer Philip Glass. He invited me to make a 10-minute film that he could compose an original music to play live. He also commissioned 4 other contemporary filmmakers. It was an unusual collaboration for me, as the team that I normally work with are entirely Iranian, and the subject of my work is obviously very Islamic, and so it was a bit of a challenge for me to come up with a concept that Philip would feel comfortable with, as he's not Iranian, but also that conceptually to create a piece that complies with his music, as I've been up to now collaborating mainly by Susan Dehim, a wonderful Iranian singer and composer who's, as you saw in Turbulent, she uses her voice primarily, both in her compositions and her own performances. With Philip's music, it's more about sound and how to incorporate that into the storyline. So at the end, I came up with an idea that he liked, and I moved forward and shot it, and which is basically, I feel that this story was a way to mediate something that I felt that the subject was quite universal in terms of the primary focus is kind of a ritual of death, mourning, a process of a group of men bringing a body to deliver to the women who are preparing in anxiety a grave. And the story is really quite abstract and not literal in any sense, but I think that the use of landscape and the ceremonial aspect of this narrative allowed Philip to enter the work rather comfortably, and I felt that his music was quite powerful and emotional as I wanted it.
Okay, roll tape, here it is. what is it that you hope to the viewer of these films to experience and feel, and what do you hope resonates with them?
I think that for most part, I'm hoping for an understanding of the Islamic culture that somehow suggests a level of complexity that has been absent on average from, at least on the American side, for an understanding of Muslims. I think it's been incredibly simplistic. And I think through my work, which simply raises questions as opposed to answering any types of questions, and the level of ambiguity that the viewer is left with to simply draw their own interpretation, one hopes for a kind of recognition of the humanity behind these people, and that in fact there's all kinds of dualities that exist in this culture. And I think I should speak more from the Iranian perspective, as I think it's a very different type of culture, for example, from other Islamic nations. But nevertheless, there are some threads of commonality between all of us. And I think that my work in some ways suggests a very realistic and very image of our societies, our culture, our religion, our politics, and yet there's a level of emotionality and a level of mysticism that suggests another level, it suggests the idea of beauty and poetry. That is also an aspect of this culture that is overlooked for many, many years. And so I think the best way I can put it is by offering a glimpse into this type of complexity and duality. I hope the viewer will rethink about their preconceived idea of who these people are, without really justifying or clarifying or trying to make some kinds of didactic points about, because I simply don't know myself. I'm also learning as I go along.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
This is it's a series of photographs. Some of them seem to be reflective of what we have just seen by you. And then this is, again, this is, I think...
Soliloquy. Yes, another film that I made in Turkey and in the United States called Soliloquy.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.